Hello, my name is Wade Nomura, and this is Rotary Serving Our Community. I recently had the opportunity to meet up with a number of international presidents. And when I say international presidents, I'm talking about presidents of not only Rotary International, but also with Kiwanis and Optimist. And at this meeting, I was able to plug in and see if, in fact, we can sit down with the three of them and actually do an interview and talk about the uniqueness about all of our service organizations, the challenges that each of them face, and the benefits that they bring together. And this group actually were pretty influential as far as what they've done, what they have done, and what they look forward to doing. One thing that did come out of this project was that they decided to actually do a project week where all of the organizations will one time in 1 week of the year actually do an organized service project that will meet the needs throughout the world. So it'll be a worldwide week of service. And at that interview, I was able to meet with Nick Prillaman from The Optimist and also Jim Rockford from Kiwanis, along with Ian Risley. Now, the unique part about this was that, and as an example, Optimist, they do not do a float during the parade. So because I saw them during the holiday season, I actually asked Nick if he would be interested in decorating a float, which he said, of course, he's always wanted to try doing a float. He actually ended up decorating the Rotary float, so that was part of his help out to us. And also Jim Rockford, I talked to him about a number of things, including membership. And we had a pretty good talk. We spent about a half an hour together during halftime at the Rose Parade, or the Rose Bowl game, and we talked about the challenge that he was facing and Rotary, what we were facing as far as membership. And the benefit that came out of that is that he offered me a lifetime membership to Kiwanis, which I'm still debating whether or not to accept. But in fact, with the three organizations together, we may in fact include a TV show that would again include each of these groups individually and see what in fact they do. And with that, the video I'd like to share with you at this time, so enjoy the show. Thank you. Okay, welcome. We're here with the President's Summit. We have members of 3 of the 4 organizations that are actually here for the Rose Parade. With me today I have Ian Risley from the Rotary organization.
Morning,
well,
mate.
I didn't mess that up too bad, did I?
It wasn't bad.
Okay, good
Acceptable.
enough. Okay, thank you. Jim Rockford from Kiwanis.
Yes.
And we have Nick Prillaman from Optimist.
Right.
Well, thank you for joining us all. I'm going to start with you, Nick. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Originally from Virginia. Lived in Atlanta about over 40 years. My background is I was educated as an architect and an urban designer, and I was in that field for a number of years. Now I own and operate a marketing and design firm. We specialize in annual reports and those kind of things. Been involved in the Optimist organization for over 30 years. Matter of fact, I was a reluctant optimist when I was first approached I was approached from a new club building standpoint, and an individual invited me to a meeting. I went to a meeting, and he stood up in front of the meeting and he said, "Come and be part of optimism, and I promise you we'll make you a better person." And so I joined the organization, and I can definitely say that in all the years I've been involved, it never went back on that promise.
That's great. Good for you. Jim, how about you?
Yes, I grew up in Peoria, Illinois, and that's where I still live, and I'm a lawyer and practice law there. I'm a full-time lawyer and a full-time Kiwanian. Fortunately, one of those jobs pays. My wife.
Let's hope it's the right one.
Yes, that's right. And my wife and I work in the same office, so I work for my wife. So,
okay.
Which is great. And I have 3 children and 4 grandchildren under 32 months. And all my family is involved in Kiwanis family. My 3 children were all in Key Club in high school. I was in Key Club in high school, and my wife and I are very active in Kiwanis and thoroughly enjoy it.
Great. So what gets you involved with Kiwanis?
So really being in Key Club in high school kind of planted the seeds for me to want to give back and do community service when I got out of school. So I actually joined Kiwanis and JC's the same month when I was 24.
Wow.
And so I've been in it for quite a few years, and just kind of rose up in the leadership and just thoroughly enjoyed the organization. My best friends are all Kiwanians, and other than some. And, we're
Don't
all,
forget Nick over there.
That's right. Well, we're all optimists, you know.
There you go.
So, but it's just basically, I just love the community service environment and giving back. And frankly, all of these organizations are absolutely awesome, and are doing the things we need. And I like to say 1 + 1 = 3, because when we come together and work together under programs like Rotary or Optimus or Kiwanis, what we can achieve greatly exceeds what we could do individually, and I think that's true. So
That is great. Very true too. Thank you.
thank you.
Ian, how about you?
G'day Wade. I'm from just outside Melbourne in Australia. I joined Rotary in 1978.
Wow.
So you're right, I was extremely young, and and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I'm a practicing accountant. By practicing, I don't mean I'm trying to get it right. I mean I run an accounting business, and it's a small group. My brother, fortunately, looks after it when I'm not there. Come to think of it, he looks after it when I am there. And I'm now privileged to be in the position of being able to tour the Rotary world and look at what it does and all the fabulous stuff. As my colleagues here say, service is a wonderful thing. It really does make you a better person, whether you consciously go into it for that reason or not. And yeah, I'm delighted to be a Rotarian.
Great. So what got you into the organization?
Oh, well, I was, as I say, I was young. I was 31. I went along as a guest speaker at a Rotary Club meeting, lunchtime meeting, on that fascinating subject of current developments in income tax. And they stayed awake most of the time. They laughed at the right times, and they seemed like good people. And I had a call from another fellow, oh gosh, about 2 months later, and said they're starting a new club in your area, which is Sandringham. Would I be interested in coming to a meeting? I thought, why not? They seem like good people. And I didn't go. You know what business is like, gentlemen, in terms of you get busy and suddenly no time.
Right.
Fortunately, they then rang me and said, we're having another meeting. And I went along to that one. And all of the big business people in the Sandringham area were at this interest meeting, plus me. And I thought, how good is this? I mean, I'm with the movers and shakers of the area. Why would I not want to join with them? Entirely selfish. It was only later I realized exactly what Rotary does.
Right. Very good. Well, thank you for that one. Nick, we're going to go back to you. Tell us a little bit about your organization.
Well, Optimus International, we're in our 99th year. Next year we will celebrate our centennial year. We started back in, the history goes back to 1911 when the club started in Buffalo, New York, and a bunch of businessmen came together, and the whole idea was optimism in business. We looking to be optimistic or whatever, and they were looking around for a project to do, and somebody said, well, why don't we do something about the delinquent boys that are running around the streets of Buffalo? And so that's kind of how the organization got started. And of course, in 1919, 11 clubs met in Louisville, Kentucky, and Optimus International was formed. And our big movement, we've always been focused on children almost from day one. We are in 23 countries. Primarily our focus, I guess you'd say our largest number of clubs is in North America and the Caribbean. We are going through right now. I think we're kind of going through a metamorphosis. We have always been a hands-on type of organization. We're really looking at becoming more I guess project or activity focused. So we're beginning to experiment with different kinds of clubs rather than the typical model club where you come and meet, you have a meal, you have a program, and that kind of thing. And so we're beginning to develop a variety of different kind of clubs. We are headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. We have about right now in adult clubs adult membership we have about 67,000 members. We have about 15,000 Joy members. Our Joy organization is growing very well. This year we've got a big focus on really growing our organization. First quarter we did meet our growth goals, I think the big important thing about our organization is the spreading optimism of a philosophy of life. We really concentrate on bringing people into our organization and helping them learn. It's about being the best you can be. It's not about, it's whoever you are as long as you're the best you can be, and that's what optimism stands for, basically. We're not Pollyannas. We just look at the positive side of things. We think that, part of our creed is look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true. And one of the things that, my battle cry this year is feel the need, plant the seed, do the deed, and live the creed. Because we do, that is something that we're finding that more people, optimism is probably as important today as it's ever been in the history of the world.
Right.
So,
Real quick, give us a little bit of background on what Joy membership is, because
well, Joy membership is kind of, I guess it goes kind of with it's kind of like the key club. That's our,
Okay.
we have 3 levels. We have the elementary school children. We have middle school. They're called the Alpha Clubs.
Okay.
The junior clubs are middle school, and high school are the Octagon clubs.
Gotcha.
And so, and they are a really, really dynamic group of young people. And as a matter of fact, my colleague here, I learned he's going and building clubs around key clubs, and I'm thinking, hey, that's a great idea. We may borrow from him and do some of this other kind of thing.
That's what we're here for. Thank you. So that group total is Joy. That Joy group is then 15,000.
About 15,000, yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Jim, how about you?
Yes, Kiwanis is in over 80 nations throughout the world, and the thing that kind of differentiates us from other worthwhile organizations is our emphasis on youth. We have programs in the schools from first grade through college, and our marquee program is Key Club, which is in high school, and Key Club has international officers just as we do in Kiwanis and there are other parts of our organization. Circle K is our college component, and then in the grade schools we have builder clubs in the middle school, and in the lower grades we have K Kids. All those are with the idea of planting the seeds of getting youth to be involved in doing community service. So a couple of the grade school programs are very popular. One is Bring Up Grades. We go and recognize any student that brings a grade up. It can be from an F to a D, D to a C, C to a B, or like these 2 gentlemen probably got all A's. We still recognize that.
Good you feel, good you feel.
And, so then we also recognize good citizenship through a program called Terrific Kids. And we go in, and it can be as simple as a teacher drops her books on the floor and a student comes over and helps pick up her books without being told to. And we recognize that as good citizenship, or maybe someone reports that somebody's being bullied, and we'll come in and recognize their leadership of being a terrific kid. And so the whole thing is planting seeds to have good behavior from youth, so that when they get out and they're working as a CPA, that they'll want to do good things for the community. And so that's really our niche. And frankly, we're primarily based out of the United States, more than like Rotary and Lions that have grown throughout in other parts of the world. We still are active in other parts of the world, and actually Asia Pacific is our fastest growing area of Kiwanis, but we have 70% of our membership in the United States. And the reason for that, I believe, is because of the strength of our programs at school, and particularly Key Club. I'd like to say Key Club is the best thing that we do, bar none. And frankly, if we did nothing else other than Key Club, our purpose as developing future community leaders would be well served. And so we also have done some things. We've had 2 worldwide service projects. One was to iodine deficiency disorder, to deal with salt and goiters. That was a problem coming out of that iodine deficiency. And then the most recent one that we're doing right now is Eliminate, and that's eliminating maternal neonatal tetanus throughout the world. And that was a $110 million project. We've achieved the $110 million in pledges. We've collected $88 million of that, and we're down to less than 15 countries that have an issue with that was causing the life of mothers and babies all over the world, mostly in third world countries. And so we are very committed to doing things that will help the world, and yet our marquee is really our programs in the schools.
Right. Do you have an estimate on how many Key Clubbers you actually have?
Yeah. We really, frankly, hard to believe, but our Key Clubbers actually outwork the Kiwanians. And so over at the floats here.
You guys are all over the place there.
We have 7,000 Key Clubbers
Oh, wow.
coming in volunteering.
Wow.
And there's a lot of good Kiwanians that are there working and laying the groundwork, but it's a really, again, working together. So our programs have actually outgrown our Kiwanis, but one of the things that we're doing, and just kind of on where we're at this year, our year starts October 1, and so we have a goal this year to open more clubs, Kiwanis clubs, than any year in our history, and that would be 409. In the first 3 months, we opened 102 clubs, and so 13 out of the last 15 weeks, I've been out the road. We're calling it lead by example, so I'm asking my governors to be out on the streets, so to speak, going around talking to business people and in the schools and community leaders to open Kiwanis clubs. And so that 102 clubs have been opened, over 50 of those were in the United States, and then another large portion of those were in Asia Pacific area. But we're really committed to making that happen, and frankly, we're right on pace. And so I'm just happy to be involved, though, in a thing like the Turn Red Roses Parade, because I think it really emphasizes, truth be told, that's the largest service project that we're involved in, that involves all facets, really, of our Kiwanis family. We have a developmentally disabled program called Action Club, and we have some of them that have been there volunteering over in the float building, and then a lot of our Circle K'ers from college, and even some of our Builders Clubbers from grade school have been there. And so we try to put the emphasis more on the service than we do on the meetings. And we still have a lot of clubs that have the regular kind of pro forma of service clubs of a speaker and going through and having a program. But we're really evolving, I think, and part of our growth to attract younger members is to put the emphasis more on the service part than on the meeting part.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ian, what's your about Rotary?
Well, nothing wrong with lawyers. We were founded by a lawyer called Paul Harris back in 1905 in Chicago, and we've grown ever since. The first meeting had 4 people gathered around. His objective, Paul Harris's objective, was to provide the opportunity for people to enjoy what we call fellowship, enjoy the opportunity to get together, talk about things, and it's moved on from there. So we still have a lot of fun. Wade, we still have a lot of fun, but we like service as well. Service is really important. We have 1.2 million members or thereabouts in just about every country. I understand we're in more places than the United Nations, which is interesting. I think maybe we should have a seat. And the net result of all of that is that we have a significant strength in numbers, and we're able to take on significant projects. The best known of which, I suppose, is polio eradication. We've taken that on since, well, in fact, 1979. There was a project to immunize the children of the Philippines. I think 6.6 million kids in the Philippines, and it worked, and polio disappeared from the Philippines. So after due consideration and discussion in 1985, Rotary and the Rotary Foundation took on the task of eradicating polio from the world. And we've partnered now with the World Health Organization and UNICEF and the US Centers for Disease Control, and in more recent years a lot of funding and support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we now got down to the stage where from 350,000 cases a year, 1,000 cases a day, back in the mid-1980s, so far this year we've had 20. So success is just around the corner, and that's exciting for Rotarians, it's exciting for the world. In addition, we have programs, and it's really interesting listening to Jim and Nick, the emphasis on youth. We have an emphasis on youth too, and that's really good, because I think the gentleman would agree that the future's looking rosier when our children, the younger people in society, are attuned to the concept of service. So we have Interact for school kids, we have Rotaract for college age type people, and I think we've got 1.2 million members and about 500,000 in Rotaract and Interact. Youth exchange is one of our strong points. We send a couple of 100,000 kids every year to various parts of the world. They spend either 3 or 12 months understanding a different culture. That builds peace as well. One of our past presidents once said that if every young person could be an exchange student, there'd be no more wars. And that's true, because you understand another society, another culture. And so that's important to us as well. And every club has its own area of emphasis, what they like to do. But every club also is part of a community, so we work in the community and we also adopt more broader activities.
Great, thank you. Nick, I'm going to go back to you. I'll give you a harder question here. Tell us a little bit about the presidency, being the president of the organization, and the challenges that you've had and seen, and some of the benefits you've had from the office.
Well, of course, I've only been in it for a quarter, so 1 quarter. So it's been a really eye-opening experience because one of the things I think is great about being the president, and I tell people one of the reasons, when I talk to clubs, why I wanted to be president. The reason I wanted to be president is because when I grew up, I was told, if you want to have things to change, if you want to make a difference, then you have to be willing to step up. And so when I had the opportunity to become the president, I embraced that because I think our organization is at a real crossroads. I really do think we're going to take off. I think we're, and as I go out and visit, the great thing is you get to go out and you visit the men and women who are making it happen in the field. I tell people I'm just like them. I just took on a little bit more responsibility. But the fact of the matter is that I've been in the field, I've worked in the clubs, and so I really always try to put myself in what is going on in the community, because that's where it all happens, and I'm sure these gentlemen the same way with their clubs. That I've had the opportunity to travel and visit different districts, different cultures. But we're all united in one thing, and that is the optimist movement, so to speak. Now, when you go down to into the Caribbean, which is a real experience, they talk about being they call it the optimist movement. I mean, it is really it's a cause to them. Of course, their culture is totally different than ours here in the United States. But I think the interesting thing is there's all kinds of problems that you didn't realize that some of these clubs face, and how do we solve those problems? I put together a real strong team. My promise to my governors, to my club presidents, was that our organization was going to support them, to help them, to spread the word of optimism. So my job was to come up with an overall plan for the year. We brought together a planning team, which is one of the first time I brought them from all different parts of our organization, and we sat down and we looked at our organization, every aspect of it, and came up with a plan. The idea was a plan that everybody could buy into. It's not my plan; it is our plan. And so each level, the vice presidents, the governors, were all brought in, and they were given the opportunity to have input into the plan. So I think we have a very strong plan. We are moving forward. The first quarter, we did achieve our goals that we set. As a matter of fact, we exceeded our goals for first quarter. But for me, it's really a growing experience. I've never really sought a job. It's sort of happened for me. Somebody came along and said, will you try this? And my deal has always been, I want to stretch myself a little bit. So this is the big stretch. I got the opportunity to do this, but it's really to be involved in the organization, to be involved in I guess helping direct where it's going into the next century. Is a real exciting thing for me to be involved in.
Great, thank you. How about you, Jim?
Yeah, and Kiwanis is 103 years old as an organization, and there's no truth to the rumor that I was a charter member. The thing is that Kiwanis really has changed my life, and so being president, I view that as an honor and something that has a great responsibility. And so part of that, I think, is that we attract, all three organizations, I think, attract great quality people. If we have members, they're going to do good things, and they're going to make communities better, whether it be doing a worldwide service project or doing something in the local community. And so I think with Kiwanis, what we needed to do is we needed to stop the bleeding on our membership and really increase our numbers. And so the challenge that I've tried to make, and we kind of called it the Kiss and Baby Tour, that in the past we've kind of gone out and just given speeches, our presidents maybe, and frankly, While there's some value to that, listen to these two guys speak. I'd like to hear them speak whenever I could. So, but at the same time, in our numbers, we had only had a net increase in our membership once in the last 25 years. And so you can't continue to do the same level of programming if you're going to lose your membership, which is 80% of our income comes from our dues income. So in the end, we had to get our leadership being willing to step up and lead by example. And so I ran the AAU basketball program for 15 years, had 100 kids that got Division I scholarships. One of the things I learned is that you need people to know that you're willing to care about them, but also to do whatever it takes to have them achieve success. And so my governors and I, the Tiger team, is what we're calling our field team, going out and opening clubs, they've stepped up and said, yeah, we're going to do that. And my board, 15 of the 19 board members, had never been out in the field to open a club. And so at our October board meeting, we all went out. We opened 3 clubs in 2 days in the Indianapolis area where our home office is. And what that does is when you see it's not like having a root canal, it's not that painful. Really, it reinvigorates you about what we're doing whenever we open a new club. And so, I've said that, and you can use this whenever you want. Brewers, tours, and doers. Brewers are the people that have something to say about everything. It's usually bad. We all know some of them. Tours are the people that sit on the fence and don't do much of anything. And then there's the doers. And these guys are all doers, as are the people in their organizations, because they're willing to step up and do whatever it takes to make their communities better. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for doers, and we're looking for people that are willing to lead by example. And fortunately, there's been great buy-in, and we're going to make it 2 years of a net increase in membership in 26 years, and I think the people following me are on board with that as well. And so we don't need to have a one and done. We need to have membership continue to grow. I find that young people still want to give back, but they want to do it more in the context of doing service rather than sitting in a room with meetings. Sure. And that's kind of how we're modifying our organization in that regard, and we're having success, and I think it's going to bode well for the future.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ian?
Wade, I have to say it's really interesting having a chance to chat to the guys here over the last couple of days, how we have similarities, so many similarities in our organisations with subtle differences. I'm privileged to be the 5th Australian to be a president of Rotary International in 112 years, and that's a massive thrill for me to go around the world meeting Rotarians and finding out a lot of what they do. And they do wonderful work. Clubs, 35,500 clubs right around the world, all of them making a difference in their local communities. It's just inspirational. Every year we have a theme. Each incoming president has a theme. My somewhat imaginative theme is Rotary, making a difference. And that's because, to me, that's what we do as Rotarians every single day. We make a difference in the lives of the people that we assist in our programs, but we also make a difference in our own lives, because it just seems to me that, as Nick said before, you become a better person when you commit yourself to serving communities, and it's a massive thrill to be part of it.
Well, thank you all for being here. We actually ran out of time, so that was a quick half hour there. I want to thank all 3 of you for being there and for what you do for the world. Outstanding things. I hope from the summit you were able to maybe coordinate and get some things together. So I hope you enjoyed that. Pretty fascinating, as you would see, how the 3 organizations have so many things actually more in common than not. And if we look at partnering up together with Optimus and Kiwanis, I will tell you this, it would be a very fascinating world that we would live in if we had everybody sharing those same passions to serving people around the world. And with that, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you next time.